My dear students, today we will discuss a theory which studies about the reality of the objects. In connection with the study of the reality of the objects, we will come across two theories in philosophy. One is realism, another one is idealism. In a very nutshell, I will describe you the differentiation between the realism and idealism. According to idealism, the reality of an object is shaped by our thoughts and ideas. It means that the reality of the object is dependent upon our mind. This is the main concept of the idealism. And on the other hand, according to the realism, the reality of an object has an absolute existence, independent from our thoughts, idea, and even our consciousness. It means that it is perfectly the existence of the object has a separate independent existence. This is the concept of the theory of realism. As you know, the differentiation between the realism and idealism. Now we will start discussion on the topic theory of scientific realism, and this theory is established by John Locke. And when we study about this theory, let me divide into two portions. The first part is to be discussed with the internal idea of scientific realism, and in the second part I will discuss about the importance of the qualities of primary and secondary of the theory of realism. Now here you will see a picture here. This is the picture of John Locke, who established scientific or critical realism. You must have known that John Locke was the philosopher who established empiricism. He refuted the doctrine of innate ideas and established the theory of empiricism. According to the in connection with the empiricism, what we find is that the origin of the source of knowledge is our sense experience. And he maintains that mind at birth is a tabula rasa upon which experience writes. Mind is like a clean slate in the beginning. And he also mentioned that no man is born with innate ideas. This is the main concept of the empiricism. And based on this concept, he established another theory, that is scientific realism or critical realism. Now you see here the scientific realism. And when we study about the scientific realism, we first of all we must try to understand what is consciousness and what is the relation between our relation between the consciousness and the physical external objects. According to the common sense realism, we can see that our consciousness is just like a beam of light which shines through our sense organs and illumines the world as it really is. This is the definition of the consciousness. Consciousness is nothing but it is a beam of light through which we can get the recognition of the other existence of the other objects of the external world. Now, here, this consciousness is very much important, and through which we can get our knowledge, the data of our knowledge, and it is just like a torchlight through which we know the objects in the darkness. This is the main concept that is given by the common sense realism. But what does John Locke give the concept of the consciousness in connection with his theory? John Locke holds that consciousness is like a photographic plate on which external things are represented. Now you see here, John Locke had a comparison between consciousness and a photographic plate. We see here a mobile phone, and on the screen we can see the images of the external objects. The screen of the mobile catches the images or the picture of the external objects, and we can see there. Likewise, our consciousness is a photographic plate. Our consciousness is a photographic plate, and on this photographic plate, the external things are represented, means we can find the images of the external object. Likewise, what we have in the consciousness is the images of the external objects. This is mentioned by John Locke in his theory. Now again, after we have known the concept of the consciousness, now let us see the qualities of the objects. Now the objects have their own qualities. The external objects have their own qualities. But according to John Locke, we find here is that there is a separate, independent existence of the physical objects and the qualities. The qualities of the objects, say for example, color, taste, smell, etc. These are the qualities of the objects. These qualities do not inhere in the external physical objects. On the contrary, they are the ideas of the mind. These qualities are the ideas of the mind. What we receive in our consciousness, what we receive in our mind is just only the ideas, just only the qualities, just only the images, not the real external object. So now let us coming to the point why John Locke described his theory as scientific realism. John Locke's theory is called scientific realism because it is consistent with the scientific thought of his time. Consistent with means his theory or his concept of presentation, his concept of the presentation is in agreement with the facts and the thoughts of the scientists of this time. Therefore, his theory is known as scientific realism. And on the other hand, it is also, his theory is also known as critical realism because his realism is based on critical reflection. Critical reflection means, say, based on serious thought or serious consideration. His theory of realism is based on serious consideration or serious thought. Now here again, his theory is also known as theory of representationalism. Why? It has a behind this there is a very important idea why his theory is also known as theory of representationalism. According to this theory, what we find is that our mind never perceives anything external to itself. Now what we know is that we receive our knowledge, we receive the data of our knowledge from our external world through the sense organs. It comes in our mind. But when we receive such external objects, these ideas or this knowledge we perceive, mind never perceives anything external to itself. Mind can perceive only its own ideas, not the real object. Mind cannot perceive the real external object. It does not perceive. What is in the mind is only the ideas, only the images. Just say a photographic plate has an image or a picture on its screen. Because of this reason, the idea what we have in our consciousness is the representation of the outside world, the representation of the external objects. Therefore, his theory is also known as theory of representationalism. Then, now we have to know the function of the mind and its relation to the external world. When we study the theory of the John Locke's critical realism, as he expressed, mind can perceive only its own ideas. What are the ideas? The qualities, say smell, color, taste. These are the qualities. These are the qualities, these are the ideas that our mind can perceive. Not the exact real object, external object of this world. Mind cannot perceive. Mind can directly perceive its own ideas, its own states and its processes, not the real things, not the external real objects. Because of this reason, the consciousness, what we have in our mind, is like a screen on which the images of the external things are represented. On the consciousness, on the screen of the consciousness, there is the images, there is the picture of the external objects. These ideas are the representations or the exact copies or the image of the qualities of real things, which are the external to the mind. Which are the external to the minds. What our mind receives is only the qualities, not the real things. Only the copies, only the images. These are the only representations, not the real objects. Now, these ideas, we know that these ideas are representations. These ideas are the copies. We know these images are the qualities of the real things, which are the external to the mind. Now we can only perceive these ideas, not the real things. We know this one. Then, now there is a relation between things and the mind. We may ask a question whether the mind and the things are interdependent, or mind is dependent on things, or things are dependent on mind for their existence. Now, in connection with this theory, when we observe this, the things of the external world exist independently of our mind as a ground of the ideas. They have their own independent existence. They are not dependent on our mind. The things of the external world cannot be directly known by our mind. What we perceive, what we have, is only the ideas, only the images, only the pictures, not the real things, not the real object. This is the main idea, main concept of the theory of realism. This is the first part of the scientific theory of Locke, and we will finish here for today. In the next class, we will continue the importance of the primary qualities and secondary qualities, in connection with his theory.